Organising a collection. This is something I've had private conversations with lots of people about, and I really like getting into it because everybody is different. There's no right and wrong way to do it unless you're one of those people who like to think that everybody else is wrong and you're the only one that's right. I have what I like. I have notes down here on what some other people have organised their collection and how they feel it flows better. And although it sometimes may be deeply shocking, I'm always kind of curious to see how people deal with their collection. Now, I did one on space and I asked you guys to send in some images and it was great. You don't realise how fascinating I find it is just looking at somebody's collection. So I'd love to see some examples of how you do your collecting, and if you've got anything you want to send me, manvfilm@gmail.com. Send me images of it because I'm really curious, and I promise I won't judge on what's in your collection. Everybody's got their own tastes. Now, for me personally, I do put boutiques above everything else because I love the uniformity of the way the style is. I love the movies more than the typical movies. I just think it's a really interesting looking way to have my boutiques organised, and I roughly know what's in my boutique anyway, or what film goes with what label and how I've organised it. So behind me is the biggest collections I have. At the top is Eureka, at the bottom is Arrow, and then over to my side here I've got Indicator, Vinegar Syndrome, BFI. In the living room I've got a cupboard with my 4Ks, a cupboard with my Criterions, and a cupboard with my 88 films. Now that's not all. Behind this, because it's doubled back, I've got pretty much all my other studio releases alphabetised. And that's the way I feel comfortable with it. At the front, I want the movies that I'm more interested in, the ones that I'm going to go back to more, the ones that have extras that I'm more likely just to grab and throw on. I'm proud of my boutique collection. I like it. I want to show it off. That's why it's front and foremost on my shelves. But that's just the way I do it. I've seen people who are big fans of boutiques, but they like to have an alphabetised collection. Everything from A to Z, regardless of whether it's BFI, Indicator, 101 films. They just want them all included in a straight A to Z collection. And that was a way that I had mine for the longest while, until the boutiques really started to take over, in which case I wanted to highlight them. The one way I've seen people who have their collection is from year, having it from, say, whatever, 19... right up to 20, whatever, 21, and have their collection that way. That seems a little bit more scattershot, but I've seen other people do it by colour as well, just to create a nice aesthetic. I find that a little bit uneasy for me because I need to have the ease of access to things. I need to know roughly where things are and how I can get to them. And I've seen some people have small things in their collection, like director areas, where they've got all their Scorsese, all their Tarantinos, things like that, the John Carpenter collection. I like the idea of that. But a lot of, say, John Carpenter's, I've got Arrow versions, I've got Indicator versions, you know, I've got Second Sight version. I like having them within their boutiques. I don't know if I want to put them all together on that. And I feel like the way you organise your collection should be indicative of the person that you are. People should come in, although they don't because we're in lockdown, but when someone comes into your house and looks at your collection, they should have an idea of who you are. Someone can quite clearly look at mine, particularly the shelves behind me, and see Masters of Cinema into Arrow Video. You've got classics of cinema into a strange oddity of genre, and that kind of gives my full persona, how I have a taste in movies and how they flow for me. A perception of yourself. And one of the things that can be done to really influence that can be cultivating your collection. Do you have movies that you love? Or do you have movies that you think look good on a shelf? Because a lot of things we as collectors end up doing is buying classics. the infamous classic phrase, you know, oh, you've got to have that movie, it's a classic. Is it something you really enjoy? If all you enjoy is Chuck Norris, Van Damme movies, your collection should personify that. Lots of Chuck Norris, lots of Van Damme. There's nothing wrong with it. That's your tastes. And I think us as collectors judge, or seemingly are judged, sometimes judge other people on the movies that they have in their collection. But just because a movie's in your collection, does that mean that you love it? Does that mean that you have to cultivate the collection? This is something I've touched on multiple times before, the culling of a collection, removing the weeds, so to speak, so that only the flowers are in bloom. But for me, the organisation goes hand in hand with the space and with the collecting in general. I want mine to look as best as it can. My ideal organisation of this would be a massive wall. A wall where the shelves are only one movies deep, where I get to show everything off the way it is. And I would roughly do it the way I have it now. I would have it in boutiques. The boutiques wouldn't be in any order. They would just have their own little bookcase filled with movies, where I could have my Arrow, my Criterion, my Masters of Cinema, my 101 films, my 88 films, my Vinegar Syndromes, all those clearly defined, and then the studio releases after it in alphabetical order. Also, whenever we go into boutiques on my shelf, not all of them are numbered, but I like to have a structure within it, and my simple structure is A to Z. That's what I like. I like my A to Z. So within Arrow, it starts at, say, 12 Monkeys and moves all the way down to Zombie Flesh Eaters. Yeah, I think, anyway. Or Zero Boys, Zombie Flesh Eaters. Yeah, and that's the way it flows for that. And it's the same within my main studio releases. They technically, mostly, run in alphabetical order, but there are some movies that just don't fit into that. Some exceptions to my rules of my OCD-ness. I can't, for all good reasons, have a Batman collection there with like the first 4 Batman movies, Batman Begins, and then The Dark Knight, you know, a couple of letters along. I have them next to it. So if it's a series of movies, I have them in that order. The Harry Potter movies are not alphabetized. They're put in 1 to 8 because I need that construct within my collection. Organising can be a minefield of sorts, but it's something that I do sparingly. But when I do it, I love to do it. I'm thinking about getting another unit for one of my back walls here. I can maybe just fit in, and I'm already like mulling over every now and again, how would I reorganise my collection? It's a big job to do, but I enjoy it. There is some kind of therapeutic thing to taking all the movies off the shelf, putting them back on, handling them, looking at them, feeling the cases, looking at the artwork. That's deeply satisfying for me. That it could be weird, but I'm willing to bet that there's a lot of collectors out there that feel the same. The handling and the reorganisation of a collection is something that is a hell of a lot of work, but deeply fulfilling. It's crazy. Oh God, sometimes you just listen to yourself and you realise that what you're saying is just a little bit mental. I love my collection. I love organising it. I am really curious as to how you organise yours. If you want to send me pictures, like I said, the email will be below where you can jump on and just show me. I can't wait to see what you guys have got up to in your collections. And I'll see you next time on Man v Film.